Here's our Wednesday night devotional for this week. Finding it very humorous as I'm going through and uploading videos from week to week, and I'm trying to make sure to remember to do the captions at the bottom, because I know not everybody's hearing is the best, and some are just hearing impaired, and it's a lot easier when they have the words to read with it along the bottom to help bring clarity and understanding. So I try to remember to do that. And I also, if the video's short enough, I try to go back and edit it a little bit. And I realize I say or way more than I thought I did. So here's to the rookies, and here's to the here's to trying to get better. Tonight's verse comes out of the book of Exodus, chapter 18. I do want to tell you, if you want to do a little bit of reading in preparation for this new series called Rerouting, Navigating Detours God's Way, the plan is to begin that this Sunday on September the 6th, as well as have a time of prayer for teachers and students, faculty, all those that are involved in all the doings of school, which would include a lot of new homeschool parents thanks to the current crisis too. So we're going to make sure that we do that as part of the service this weekend. But if you'll read Exodus 1 through 12, you will be well prepared for this Sunday's sermon as we begin the series together. But this is a passage that I don't think I'm going to cover in the series, but I think it's worth bearing, because at the end of it, I'm going to ask you to invest in a couple things, and not financially. So don't panic if you just logged out because I said invest. You invest in a lot of things, and the biggest investment that any of us makes is with our time. And so our passage is out of Exodus chapter 18 tonight. That's the Old Testament. If you're new to the Bible, if you start at the front, it's the second book in, okay? And so if you don't know much about the Bible, in most English Bibles, the large numbers are the chapters and the smaller numbers are the verses. It wasn't written that way. That's just something that was done in the last few hundred years to make it easier for people to find. Let's say you've never picked up the Bible, but if you know that the large numbers are chapters and the smaller numbers are verses, you can more easily find it that way. So we're in Exodus 18 tonight, and Moses has been visiting with his father-in-law, and this is what happens after they've had a good time together. Exodus 18 verses 13 and following. The next day Moses took his seat to hear the people's disputes against each other, because people have always had disputes with each other. I also went to the dentist today to have a root canal finished, and my lip still feels numb. So you're getting quality material tonight, I hope you know. He was listening to people's disputes against each other. They waited before him from morning until evening. That's a long day. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he asked, "What are you really accomplishing here? Why are you trying to do all this alone while everyone stands around you morning till evening?" Moses replied, "Because the people come to me to get a ruling from God. When a dispute arises, they come to me, and I am the one who settles the case between the quarreling parties. I inform the people of God's decrees," that is, he reminds them of God's laws, "and give them his instructions," because they weren't blessed enough to have a copy yet, except for, at this point, they don't even have the Ten Commandments yet. So he had to remind them of what God had been telling him. It's easy for us, one thing of note here, it's easy for us to think that we're the ones that have to do it. I know as a pastor, as someone who is a professional servant in a sense, in a certain sense that there is monetary remuneration for services rendered, it's easy to feel like all the burden rests on you. And if no one volunteers to do it, or if no one steps up to do something, to serve in some way, it's easy to just think, I'll do it. I'll get around to it. We'll do it even if it might not be as good as if someone else did it. So there's two things there. There's a feeling and a sense of responsibility, which there should be, but two, there's also a little bit of pride there, and I feel like God's dealing with me on that specifically. We have to let other people do things. We have to give them opportunities to serve, and we can't just do it. But at this point, Moses is like, I'm the guy to come to. Like, I am the source. I am the authority. But let's look at what Jethro's advice is. This is not good, Moses' father-in-law exclaimed. You're going to wear yourself out, and the people too. Listen to what he says. This job is too heavy a burden for you to handle by yourself. Now listen to me and let me give you a word of advice. In-laws have been giving advice since the beginning of time. I love it when things from thousands of years ago are still happening. He gave him advice, but now this is good advice, so we should be thankful for those good in-laws that we have, right? Somebody type amen. Now listen to me and let me give you a word of advice, and may God be with you, a blessing. You should continue to be the people's representative before God, bringing their disputes to him. So he wasn't saying you're doing it wrong, somebody else should be dealing with these issues. He wasn't saying that. He said you should continue to be God's representative, when they bring their disputes to you. In verse 20, teach them God's decrees and give them his instructions. Show them how to conduct their life. Show them how does this apply in real life, which is what hopefully I try to do in my preaching and teaching, and what every preacher of God's word tries to do is, how does this move from here to here to here to here, to how I live out my life. Teach them God's decrees, give them his instructions, show them how to conduct their lives. Verse 21, but select from all the people some capable, honest men who fear God and hate bribes. Accept them as leaders over groups of 1,000, 100, 50, and 10. They should always be available to solve the people's common disputes, but have them bring the major cases to you. See, he was saying there should be some boundaries for you. You shouldn't have to hear every case. That's why you're doing it from early in the morning until late at night. That's why you're wearing yourself out. You're trying to do too much. The big stuff needs to come to you, but the things lesser than need to be handled by other people. Not that they're less important, but they're just not as big a dispute and don't need as much insight. Appoint them as leaders. They should always be available to solve the people's common disputes. Let the leaders decide the smaller matters themselves. They will help you carry the load, making the task easier for you. If you follow this advice, and if God commands you to do so, then you will be able to endure the pressures, and all these people will go home in peace. Moses listened to his father-in-law's advice and followed his suggestions. He chose capable men from all over Israel and appointed them as leaders over the people. He put them in charge of groups of 1,000, 100, 50, and 10. So there are different levels of responsibility. He didn't say everybody has responsibility over 1,000, only a few. He didn't say everybody. Some people were probably the junior leaders, the ones that they were raising up, and said, you know what, you've got responsibility for 10 people. This is a great model. These men were always available to solve the people's common disputes. They brought the major cases to Moses, but they took care of the smaller matters themselves. Soon after this, Moses said goodbye to his father-in-law, who returned to his own land. You got to thank God for wisdom that comes from other people, especially when it honors God and helps people. So, Derek, what are you driving at tonight? You said you're going to ask us to invest. All right, so for the handful of people that watch this, because I know how things get, 2 things to think about. Number 1, we would love to have your help in widening the net for our care of people. Now, when I arrived here at Belton Nazarene Church, we had this ministry in place called Dare to Care, and Pastor Mike was leading that at the time. And then as things happen, this person moved away, this person stepped back, and things got to a point where we put things on pause. Well, now fast forward to today, and we're in the, I hesitate to say we're in the middle of this pandemic because I have no idea. Hopefully we're close to the end. But we're trying to make sure that people from our church that we already know are getting contacted by others within the church just to stay in touch. And that can be done in a few different ways. One, maybe all you have is a phone call. Guess what? We can get you numbers and you can call some people, even be assigned a handful of people a week, and call on them, check on them. I'll write you a script if you need it. If you just feel like you have no idea what to say, we can provide you a script. It's not a problem, and it will be a big help. Why is this a big help? Because one person can't call somebody all the time. One person can't write notes all the time. That's another thing you can do. Write a simple postcard. Some of you, I am convinced that you have a stock of cards at your house, and you just are always sending those out. And you know what? Handwritten notes these days are maybe even a bigger deal than they've ever been. It's easy. Text messages are easy. I'm not saying that's bad. If you want to text people, hey, I've been able to carry a lot of conversations with people over text. Their schedules are crazy. Ours is all over the place with school starting back and band and all that. I get it. I'm not saying texting is bad. I'm just saying it's those little touches of handwritten notes. And that's what I'm hoping to start to do this week is get some handwritten notes out. If you would like to help extend care to other people within our church, or even if they're outside the church, even if they've never heard of us, how cool would it be if people were just calling on their neighbors and saying, hey, how are you doing? How can I be praying for you? I can't tell you how many conversations that has unlocked with just people you run into if you do like grocery pickup somewhere and ask them, hey, how can I be praying for you this week? One young lady was bringing groceries to our car the other day, and I just try to make that my practice. I'm just trying to always be asking people how I can be praying for them. And she said, my dad's having foot surgery this week, and I'm starting community college, and I'm starting to stress out. And so I just said, would you just give me a minute to pray over you and your dad? And she did, and that was great. People need to know that even though there are a lot of unknown variables and we don't know how things are proceeding exactly, we're still living. We're still engaging with people, and we still care. Our caring doesn't stop. We don't want the verse about the end times to be true about us, right? And the love of some or the love of many grew cold. That should not be us. We should be burning fires. We should be lighting fires everywhere we go, right? Fires to keep people warm, fires to keep people going. So if you'd like to be part of the Dare to Care team, version 2 or whatever it is, pandemic team care, I don't know. I would love for you to email Pastor Mike Sapp right now. You can stop watching this video. You just send him an email, mike.sapp at live.com. That's mike.sapp at live.com, and just say, hey, I'm willing to make some phone calls. I'm willing to write some letters. I'm willing to show care. That's one thing I'm asking you to invest in. And the second thing I'm asking you to invest in, running close on time, is grow groups. I have talked about grow groups for forever, but we just haven't got them off the ground yet. And I have not led us to do that yet. So for us, Sunday mornings is not enough. It's not enough emotionally, socially. It's not enough and that's become even more, we've become even more aware of that since we've went to mostly online services and some in person, and people are online and things like that. That has come to the forefront of Sunday mornings is not enough. One, right now, we're not seeing, near who we used to be seeing. And that's not a guilt trip or anything. I totally get it. If you're immunocompromised, please do what is best for you. We're going to keep telling you that, okay? But Sunday mornings is just not enough. The nods and the waves and the hey, how are you doing? We've got to have more pockets of care. And so one way that we can do that is to have grow groups. And I know when I say we need grow groups meeting either every other week or weekly, however your group decides, I know a lot of people will say, yes, sign me up. I want to be a part of that. But guess what? It takes a leader. We can't all have the same grow group. We need several people who are passionate disciples of Jesus and who love and care about other people to lead Bible studies. We can provide you the Bible studies. Maybe you want to kick over the sermon, not the pastor, kick around the sermon for that week, or what God has been leading you to study in His Word. We just have to have those connections with other people, and that can be done virtually. Some of you have become Zoom pros, and other people have figured out the Facebook room things. Some of you will meet in person. Christy and I, we started a grow group a few weeks ago, and that's been great. We've been keeping that to a small number, and we're really excited about that because just the Sunday mornings are not enough, and especially if you're not able to come in person, you got to have some other ties. Last Wednesday night, we held our board meeting over Zoom and phone calls, and just talking with a handful of people together, that just made such a difference. For me, it was encouraging to me, and I could tell that for others, it was encouraging to just hear each other's voices and to be reminded, hey, we're still here. We're still in this together. And so the things I'm asking you to consider investing in as we looked at Exodus chapter 18, verses 13 through 27, when Jethro gave the advice to Moses, hey, you got to let some other people be part of this. I'm asking you to be part of the care team with Pastor Mike and Dare to Care. You can email him at mike.sapp@live.com. If you're interested in being a grow group leader, I'm not interested if you're, let me rephrase that. I hope everybody wants to be part of a grow group, but if you're interested in leading a grow group, I especially want to talk with you. You can always email me, Derek, DEREK, @belton.church. You can call me or text me at 931-374-5136. And as we find that other people are stepping up into leadership, some leading this ministry, some participating in this ministry, it's not, I'm not saying like the load is too much. I'm just saying one person can't do it all. Even Jesus didn't do it all. He had 12 disciples, and when it was time to pass things out, guess who was doing the passing out? The disciples. And so I'm asking us to consider this model as a way to engage more people, to extend more care to folks, and also to help others grow in their faith and encourage them in their faith. So that's it for tonight. I pray blessings on you. I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to give you a real hug or high five or fist bump or whatever. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and we will hope to see you on Sunday, either in person or online at 10 a.m.